A man just lifted 492 kilograms, combined, in a single competition. Snatch, clean and jerk, total. The heaviest combined lift in the history of human beings, picking things up and putting them over their heads, and the number that came before it. The previous world record that everyone said was untouchable was also set by him. He has broken his own world records 26 times. If this is your first time on Lift Icons, hit subscribe right now. By the end of this video, you will wish you had found this channel sooner. Let's go. When scientists studied his body to understand how he does what he does, they ran out of comparisons. There is no framework. There is no athlete in history to measure him against. There is only the bar, the platform, and a man from a country of 4 million people who has spent a decade lifting more than any human being who has ever lived. Carlos Nassar called him the most gifted weightlifter he has ever seen, and Nassar himself holds 13 world records. We will get to what Lasha Talakhadze has done on that platform. But first, you need to understand where he came from. Because the story starts not in an elite training facility, not in a country famous for producing world champions, but in a small Georgian town that most people outside of Georgia could not point to on a map. Sachkhere, Georgia, a small town in the Emirati region in the west of the country, population a few thousand, not a place with a history of producing athletes who rewrite the laws of what the human body can do. Just a regular Georgian town where men have always been strong and weightlifting has always been part of the culture. Not because of Olympic pipelines or national federation programs, but because in Emirati, lifting heavy things is simply what men do. Sachkhere. Nothing about it screams the greatest weightlifter in the history of the sport. Lasha Talakhadze was born there on October 2nd, 1993. His father Koba was a weightlifter, not an elite international competitor, just a man who loved the sport and trained at local facilities the way men in that part of Georgia always had. As a child, all Lasha knew about weightlifting was that his father did the sport. No Olympic dream, no grand plan, just a boy watching his father lift and wanting to do the same thing. He initially pursued wrestling and soccer before transitioning to weightlifting under his father's guidance. He was not a prodigy who walked into a gym and immediately broke records. He was a kid who tried different sports and eventually found the one his body was built for. His father introduced him to Georgi Asanidze, a 3-time Olympic champion, a Georgian legend, and the man who would become one of Lasha's earliest coaches. He introduced Lasha to Georgi Asanidze, a great athlete and his future trainer. It was a bright episode. He can still remember his excitement. These two trainers were like his biggest inspirations and primary role models. Think about what that actually means. A boy from Sachkhere, whose father was not a world-class athlete, whose town had no elite training infrastructure, whose country was still rebuilding its sports system after the collapse of the Soviet Union. That boy gets connected to a 3-time Olympic champion because his dad knew someone who knew someone. That is the whole story of how the greatest weightlifter in history started. Not a scholarship, not a national talent identification program, not a scout who spotted him at a youth competition. His dad knew a guy. At 17 years old, he made his mark on the international stage by winning gold at the 2010 European Youth Championships in the plus 94 kg category, with a best snatch of 158 kilograms and clean and jerk of 187 kilograms for a total of 345 kilograms. 345 kilograms at 17. The weightlifting world noticed a little. The way it always notices when a young kid puts up impressive numbers and then immediately wonders whether it will hold up when real competition arrives. And then everything stopped. 2023, Talakhadze is 19 years old. He has just won the World Championships in Wrocław, Poland. He is the world champion. He is undefeated. He is the most exciting young weightlifter on the planet. And then the International Weightlifting Federation announces a doping violation. He was disqualified from the European Junior Weightlifting Championships for using the banned substance stanozolol. The disqualification lasted until October 2015. 2 years. Gone. Think about what that actually feels like. You are 19 years old. You have just become world champion. You are Georgian, from a country where weightlifting is national identity, where the flag is carried on the platform, where winning means everything, not just to you, but to 4 million people watching at home. And then 2 years of your career are taken away. The weightlifting world moved on. Other athletes competed. Other records were chased. And Lasha Talakhadze sat out. Training, but unable to compete. Building, but unable to show it. A 2-year sentence served in silence while everyone else got to stand on platforms and lift in front of judges. Most athletes come back from a suspension diminished. The rhythm is broken. The momentum is gone. The world has moved past you, and you have to spend a year just catching up to where you were before you left. Talakhadze did not come back diminished. He came back different. Drop it in the comments right now. When Lasha Talakhadze came back from a 2-year doping suspension at 21 years old, did you think he still had what it took to become the greatest weightlifter in history? I want to know. because what happened next changed the sport forever. October 2015. Lasha Talakhadze is eligible to compete again. He has served his suspension. He has trained for 2 years without standing on a competition platform. He walks back onto that platform and wins the World Championships. Not barely. Not by a narrow margin. He wins the World Championships in his return competition, announces to the entire sport that the suspension did not break him, that the 2 years did not cost him what they should have cost him, and sets his sights on one thing: Rio 2016, August 2016, Olympic Games, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Talakhadze's Olympic debut. He secured the gold medal with a total lift of 473 kilograms, comprising a snatch of 215 kilograms and a clean and jerk of 258 kilograms. These lifts established new Olympic records in both the snatch and clean and jerk, as well as a world record total, marking a dominant performance that outlifted silver medalist Gormanasian of Armenia by 17 kilograms, 473 kilograms. Let that land. Olympic record, world record. In his debut, after a 2-year ban, at 22 years old, not just a gold medal, not just the biggest margin of victory in super heavyweight history at those games, a world record on the biggest stage in the sport in his very first Olympic appearance after 2 years away. Say it one more time: 473 kilograms at 22 years old, Olympic debut, world record. And then he kept going. Tokyo 2020. He lifted 488 kilograms, won by 47 kilograms. He dominated in 2020, winning the Olympics by a ridiculous 47 kilograms. In Olympic weightlifting, winning by 5 kilograms is a dominant performance. Winning by 10 kilograms is historic. Winning by 47 kilograms means you are competing in a completely different sport to the men standing next to you on that platform. And then 2021, the World Weightlifting Championships, the performance that made scientists stop and ask questions they could not answer. His best ever lifts and the all-time weightlifting records in any division were set at the 2021 World Weightlifting Championships. Snatch, 225 kilograms. Clean and jerk, 267 kilograms. Total, 492 kilograms. 492 kilograms. Combined, in one competition. Do the math. That is 1,084 pounds, lifted overhead by one man in the same afternoon. The snatch alone, 225 kilograms, is more than most competitive powerlifters squat. The clean and jerk, 267 kilograms, has never been matched by any human being in any weight class at any point in the history of the sport. The previous record total, which Talakhadze broke for the first time in 2019, was 476 kilograms set by the Soviet Union's Leonid Taranenko and had stood for an incredible 31 years, seemingly unreachable. 31 years. Unreachable. That was the word people used. Unreachable. A record set in 1988 that every generation of weightlifters had looked at and accepted as the ceiling of human possibility. Lasha Talakhadze did not just reach it. He beat it. Then beat it again. Then beat it again. He has broken the total world record so many times that the number he set in 2021, 492 kilograms, is now the ceiling that the next generation looks up at and calls unreachable. 492 kilograms. Say it one more time. 492 kilograms. Not just the greatest total in weightlifting history. The greatest total across all weight classes, in any division, at any time. If you took every weightlifter who has ever competed, every super heavyweight, every athlete across 130 years of the sport, Lasha Talakhadze's 492 kilogram total is the most weight any of them has ever lifted in competition. He is the strongest competitive weightlifter in the history of the human race. After Paris 2024, where he won his 3rd consecutive Olympic gold medal, a journalist asked Lasha Talakhadze whether he had ever considered accepting citizenship from another country, because multiple nations had made him offers, substantial offers, to compete under a different flag. He said the offers went in one ear and out the other. No matter what was offered, it was unacceptable to me. I am still like that. The main thing is to sing the Georgian national anthem atop the winner's platform. That is the whole person right there. A man who holds every world record in the heaviest weight class. A man who has been offered citizenship and money and resources by countries desperate to have him represent them. A man who could have competed for a nation with 100 times the population and 100 times the funding and 100 times the infrastructure. He chose Sachkhere. He chose the Georgian national anthem. He chose to be the greatest athlete in the history of a country of 4 million people rather than a comfortable flag of convenience champion for someone else. As a child, all I knew about weightlifting was that my father did the sport. That is who Lasha Talakhadze is. A boy who watched his dad lift, who grew up in a small Georgian town, who got banned for 2 years and came back stronger, who turned down fortunes to sing one specific national anthem at the top of one specific winner's platform. Every country that made him an offer is watching 492 kilograms right now. Lasha Talakhadze is 32 years old. He is now the president of the Georgian Weightlifting Federation. He is a member of the Georgian parliament. The platform is calling him in one direction, politics in another. A study revealed that the peak strength age for elite weightlifting is, on average, 26. Talakhadze's strength probably peaked at 27 in 2021. He has passed his peak, and he still holds every record. No one has come close to 492 kilograms. Not even close. The greatest weightlifters on the planet right now. The men chasing him, the men who have won world championships in his absence, are lifting numbers that Talakhadze left behind years ago. The Georgian weightlifting president said, "Should we all be blessed with Lasha's 4th Olympic gold medal, he would definitely get the title of all-time best. It is my dream for him." Los Angeles 2028, Talakhadze would be 34 years old, ancient by weightlifting standards, but he is the greatest who has ever done it. And GOATs do not follow the rules that apply to everyone else. The world record total is 492 kilograms. Set by Lasha Talakhadze in 2021, it has stood for 5 years. Nobody has come within 20 kilograms of it. Nobody. Do the math. He started because his dad lifted in a local gym in Sachkhere, Georgia. He is going to end with records that stand for 30 years after he retires, the same way Taranenko stood until Talakhadze himself came along and demolished them. So here is what I want you to tell me in the comments. Los Angeles 2028. Lasha Talakhadze is 34 years old. One more Olympic final. One more chance to stand on the platform that defines his sport. Does he win a 4th Olympic gold medal and become the undisputed greatest weightlifter in the history of the sport? Or is 34 finally too old and someone else, Carlos Nazar, or someone we have not seen yet, takes the throne? Drop it below. Every single comment gets read. And if you want the full breakdown of who could possibly challenge Lasha Talakhadze's records and whether any human being alive has a shot at 492 kilograms, subscribe to Iron Icons. That video is coming very soon, and you do not want to miss it.